Hello and welcome to another tutorial video from Basic Fishing. In this video, I will be sharing with everyone on how to target one of my most favorite fish to catch, the elusive Trevally. Now, as everyone can see, this is what a Trevally looks like. A broad-shaped silverfish, similar shape to a snapper, but unlike snapper they have soft lips, like a jack mackerel. And I guess a broad description is a jack mackerel with a snapper's body shape. Broadly speaking, they can be found everywhere from harbors, estuaries, wharfs, the rocky coasts, both the west and the east, and the beach as well. But again, so are other fish species like the snapper and the kahawai. In fact, Trevally will often hang out with other fish species like snapper, where they would scavenge on the small leftovers the snapper leave behind in the current. By being around these fish, they find an edge in survival as they take advantage of the other fish. For example, when the kahawai are hunting small baitfish, the Trevally can steal the ones that the kahawai miss, and when the snappers are tearing apart food that are too tough for the Trevally to eat, they'll take advantage of the small scraps that drift from the feeding frenzy. Due to the Trevally's small, soft mouth, it gives them limitation on being able to feed on anything that a snapper can feed on naturally. Their natural food sources are small organisms. They are mostly plankton feeders as well as krill feeders. However, when these food aren't around, they will feed within the sediment on the bottom to sift out small worms or crustaceans. Small shellfish will also provide good meals for the Trevally as well. Whatever the case is, Trevally won't turn its mouth from a good opportunity when it presents itself. They can range all around the country of New Zealand, but are found mostly in warmer waters and can grow very big, up to 20 pounds or more. These fish are fun to land but are such a challenge to target. I've been able to hook and land a few over the past few years and found some useful tips and tricks I like to share with everyone to help them to land this tricky species. So what is the first thing we should know? One solution I've learned to target them is understand their anatomy and food source. Unlike a snapper where its powerful jaws gives them the edge of survival to be able to chew through anything of its size, the Trevally's soft mouth gives it limitation on how much food and type of food it can really eat. So one key element I found is to keep the bait size in the smallish range or cube-sized bait. This will enable the Trevally to be able to suck in the bait without having to put it off from the bait size. For example, I've used half a strip of a mullet, which enabled me to land this Trevally from the beach, and this wasn't a big fish. But when it comes to a larger fish, it will happily swallow the whole strip without any problems. Another key element I found to target them is to use oily, soft baits. Just as I mentioned about their soft mouth, soft oily bait is key to target them. However, the most effective bait I found to be the most reliable is to use shellfish bait. Again, this is a natural food source for the Trevally to eat, and every time I used shellfish bait, I've always hooked into success without fear of interference from other species. Not to mention, I've landed my biggest Trevally using shellfish bait too, so that should say a lot. Speaking of shellfish, look for small shellfish beds around your spots, for those will be your indication that you are in Trevally habitat. But long story short, good baits to use are pilchard, anchovy, salted skipjack, mullet, and any shellfish bait from mussels to cockles. Even crayfish bait can be key to your success as well. Personally, when I'm after Trevally, I prefer the use of shellfish, as fish bait will just attract everything, which can get messy sometimes in a horrible way in some situations. Another tactic is to match the season. Trevally can be caught all year round, but some seasons can be better than others. For example, summer is when most of the small snapper are present, and when they strip down your bait to the hook, it can drive you crazy. If you wait patiently through the colder seasons, you will increase your chances of landing the trevally once the snappers leave due to the cold. But summer can also be a perfect time to target trevally as well, as that time of the year food is more plentiful. What makes more challenging when targeting trevally in the summer is obviously the snappers, because at that time of the year they are more abundant. And there's nothing wrong with catching snapper, but when you're really after trevally, summertime can sometimes be a bit difficult. Now here are the key elements to your success on hooking onto a trevally: using the right tackle. For both the rocks and the beach, I like to use either 3 to 4 barrel recurve hooks, like the KLT Black Magic hooks. The reason why I prefer using recurve hooks for trevally is that the hook always gets at the corner of the mouth, which is usually the toughest part of the trevally's mouth. This is another reason why trevally can be such a pain to target, because their soft lips can get ripped from too much pressure. So the key to landing them is with a landing net, and 2, playing it gently. Even with recurve hooks, I try to play the fish gently unless I am fishing in snaggy areas, so that I don't regret it later. Once the trevally gets hooked, they are extremely powerful and will do anything in their power to escape. I had caught trevally using 5 barrel hooks before, but this was only when the bite was hot. When it's tough, I recommend downsizing the hook size, but still use the recurve hook style. Another advantage of using small recurve hooks is that in case you hook onto a different species and is undersized, you can release it due to the hook's nature of getting the fish at the corner of the mouth. Whereas the J-style hook, they will often swallow it down when timed wrong. And when you try to get the hook out, when it's swallowed, the fish often dies. So, which is why I recommend strongly on using recurve hooks instead of J-style hooks. Another key element is to use the right tackle. For the Wharf, I like to use 30-pound trace, as it's light enough to avoid detection and strong enough to land the unwanted species like the eagle ray, or a surprising species like the kingfish. For surf casting or rock fishing, I prefer to use 60-pound, as in rough conditions the stiffness of the thicker trace will keep the line stable in the current, which will avoid easy tangles, which can be a pain, especially when you cast out a long way out. For rigs, I caught both on ledger rigs and running rigs. Another rig I suggest people to use are flasher rigs, as the extra flasher material will help to attract the fish to the bait, especially if you are fishing in the murky areas. Traces like the tough trace is ideal for ledger rigs, and for running rigs, I prefer to use fluorocarbon. Since fluorocarbon turns invisible underwater, this is ideal for trevally, as they can be extremely picky, and the extra stiffness will keep the line more stabilized in strong currents. For extra distance, the pulley rig will also do the trick as well, especially if you need to cast out into the deeper water, where the trevally are more likely to be around. Finally, another key element to success is to use bait cotton or bait elastic. Because you are using soft baits, you want to ensure that the bait will stick onto the hook during a cast, or when the smaller fish moor around the bait. Black Magic bait body is a good cotton to use, as the soft, silky texture will make the bait feel more soft and natural without pulling the fish off too much. For those who wish to learn how to tie shellfish bait, check out this tutorial video for reference, and hopefully it will help you to be able to tie your own bait more effectively. Now here are some extra tips and tricks on targeting trevally. When the trevally bites, there is literally no warning. When you see your rod bending like hell, run for it. The trevally are so powerful that it can pull your rod into the water, so always set your drag to allow the fish to run. Or, if you can spend extra money, get a bait runner reel. Also, since they have soft lips, take your time when landing them too. For the boat, use a landing net, and for the surf beach, let them wash up and around the rocks. Find a secure spot to guide them and slowly pull them up on the rocks. When using flasher rigs, try using different colors to see which color works for you in whatever conditions you fish off. Sometimes the trevally may have a favorite color that they are very fond of, and that can also be the key to success as well. Trevally are also extremely attracted to burley, so if you're fishing in a spot where you can use burley, use it to increase your chances, as trevally are quite shy, but once you take their shyness, they are extremely bold, and when they are bold, they can be just as aggressive as a snapper. Also, don't take just one type of bait, but a range on the spot, as some days some baits may work better than others, and it's good to have a different range of bait to target every species depending on the day. Also remember that there are size limits for trevally, and their size limit is 25 centimeters. Don't keep any undersized fish, as there isn't much on a small fish anyway. Remember, if you don't get it the first time, try again and always keep experimenting and do some research that will help you to gain some success. And also, don't overcomplicate things too. I hope everyone has learned a thing or two on this tutorial video, and if you have, please leave a like and don't forget to subscribe. And if you wish to learn more about fishing, check out my other tutorial videos that I had posted. So if any information that you were after weren't in this video, you'll find them there instead. Again, thank you for watching and good luck on your trevally hunt.